I think one of the reasons why we don't have hope, the reason why we feel like things do get hopeless in our life, is because we don't know what's in this book. We don't know what's in the Bible. We don't read it, we don't study it, we don't memorize it, we don't meditate on it. And so when we have troubles come about in our life, we feel hopeless because we don't know the book. We don't know the Bible. And you know, the Bible contains lots and lots and lots of promises. In fact, somebody said there's over 7,000 promises that God has made in the Bible to do something for us. Over 7,000. And those promises can give you victory over doubt through hope. And that's what we learn about Christmas. We learn about the promises of God. We learn about promises that go all the way back to the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, about the birth of Jesus. That's a promise long, long ago. We learn about promises that were made by different prophets about how Jesus was going to be born. Some of them were made 1,700, 800 years before he was born. Those are great promises. Those are promises that give us hope. Those are the promises that Israel was clinging on to about their Messiah so that they could have hope when they were in slavery. That's the hope they were having. That's the hope we can have today because of God's promises. Listen, when you go through the Christmas story, you find that every single Christmas character, except maybe one, all of them believed the promises of God and had hope. Only one didn't. Herod. And you remember what happened to him? It wasn't good, right? So Joseph, Mary, Elizabeth, Zechariah, the shepherds, the Magi, all had hope because they believed what God said in the Bible, in the scriptures. So in order to overcome doubt, we need to remember that God has promised to do lots and lots of great things in our life. And when Mary came to her cousin Elizabeth, this is something that Elizabeth noticed about Mary. And she just says it straight up. Luke chapter 1, verse 45. You see that? It says, "You are blessed for believing that the Lord would keep his promise to you." Look up here. Do you want to be blessed? Do you want to be blessed in your marriage? Do you want to be blessed in your finances? Do you want to be blessed in your career? Do you want to be blessed in your health? Do you want to be blessed in your life in general? If you want to be blessed by God, you need to believe in the promises of God. You need to believe what God says right here in this book. I think a lot of times we use the word hope in ways that the Bible, it's totally foreign in the Bible. So we use the word hope like, well, I hope it rains tomorrow, right? I mean, Southern Californians, we say that a lot, right? I hope it rains. Or, you know, if other parts of the country, maybe like in Seattle or something like that, they might be saying something like, well, I hope it doesn't rain today, you know? So we use hope that kind of a wishful way. Or I hope my favorite football team, Tom, I hope my favorite team that I'm wearing the jersey for is going to win. Or I hope my favorite baseball team is going to win. Or I sure hope I get well. You know, I'm really tired of not feeling well and having this pain, and I hope I get well. And I think that a lot of times we look at hope in a totally different foreign way than what the Bible does. So I want to share with you this morning just a little illustration to help you to see what hope is really all about. See, we look at hope like this coin, all right? Just like this quarter. And we think hope is like this. I hope it's heads. Oh man, it turned out to be tails. Have any of you ever flipped a coin? Have any of you ever done that game of chance with a coin? You know, like, hey, if it comes up heads, you do this. Or if it comes up tail, I do that. So we flip the coin, turn it over, and we hope that it's going to be heads, or we hope it's going to be tails. And again, it's not heads, it's tails. Now, I don't know how many times I'm going to have to flip the coin in order for it to come up heads. But here's what I want you to understand. I could flip this coin 100 times, and maybe 99 it's going to come up tails, and one time it's going to come up heads. It's not always going to come up heads. We know that, right? We know that this is a chance we take. But we still say, I hope it comes up heads. And I want you to know this morning that that is not the Bible's definition of hope. Hope is not wishful thinking. Hope is not that kind of thing that we flip the coin and say, well, I hope it's going to be heads. And again, it came up tails. But this is what hope is like. And we all know this. Hope is not chance, it's certain. Do you understand that? Hope is not a chance, it's certain. So I know when I flip the coin, it came up heads. But here's what I want you to know, it's certain. You flip the coin, what happens? What happens? You flip the coin, what happens? What happens? Come on, folks, think about this. You flip the coin, it goes up in the air, it comes back down. It's certain it's going to come down. I flip the coin, what happens? It comes down every single time. Let's try it again. Flip the coin, does it come down? All right, it did. Flip the coin, it comes down. How many times do I have to flip the coin for it to wait for it to not come down? Do I flip the coin and it never comes down? It always comes down. That's the law of gravity right there, right? That's certain. We know the law of gravity. Whatever goes up must come down. That is hope. Hope is not a chance like heads or tails. Hope is certain like gravity. It goes up and it's going to come down. You can count on it. You can bank your life on it. No matter how many times you know what's going to happen. That's the certainty of hope. Psalm 62, verse 1 and 5 says this, I wait quietly before God, for my victory comes from him. Let all that I am wait quietly before God. For what? My hope is in him. I think one of the reasons why we have so many doubts in our life is because we misplace our hope. We put our hope in the wrong thing or the wrong person. For instance, we say, well, I hope my marriage works out. But then it doesn't work out. You know why? Because we've misplaced our hope. We've put our hope in our husband, hoping our husband will straighten up. Or we've put our hope in our wife, hoping our wife will get it right one time. And it doesn't work that way because you know why? We are not certain. We are not certain beings. We make mistakes. We're flawed. Don't ever put your hope in a person. We need to put our hope in God. He's certain. So we say things like, well, I hope my finances will change. But they don't change. Why? Because we've misplaced our hope. We put our hope maybe in our career, and we've lost our job, and our finances, they've changed, but not for the good. Or we put our hope in a bank, in a financial institution, and our finances don't improve. Why? Because the stock market goes down and blah, blah, blah. The economy goes crazy and it just doesn't work out. And now today I'm worse off financially than I was yesterday. We've misplaced our hope. Listen, you want hope in your marriage, you want hope in your finances, you want hope in your health, for your health. You don't put your hope in a doctor. I did. He almost killed me. I'm serious. If it wasn't for God's people praying for me and God's miracle in my life, I wouldn't even be here today. Because the doctor really screwed up. I'm telling you. So you got to put your hope in God. He's the only one that can help you get through those difficulties. And that's what Christmas is all about. Having hope in Jesus Christ. It's about believing, just like Mary did, in the promise of God, in what God says in the Bible. It's about believing in the virgin birth, believing in the death of Jesus Christ, believing in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, believing in all that God has said.